Good morning everyone. Welcome to this session on understanding the Indian rural market and the unique profile of its consumer. Today we discuss into fascinating and rapidly evolving segment of India's economy, one that holds immense potential for business and policymakers alike. Before we begin, let outlines what we aim to achieve today. By the end of this unit, you will be able to first understand the core features and structural dynamics of the Indian rural market and its implication for marketing strategies. Second, analyze the demographic, economic and cultural profile of rural consumer and their influence on consumption behavior. Third, identify emerging trends and key driver shaping rural demand and brand preferences. And finally, evaluate the role of festivals, government scheme and digital penetration in transforming rural marketing and consumer engagement. Let's start with an introduction to the Indian rural market. This vast segment encompassing over 65% of the country population represent a massive and dynamic consumer base. Traditionally, rural consumers were characterized by lower purchasing power and modest literacy. However, a significant transformation is underway driven by improved literacy, increasing digital penetration, agricultural prosperity and diversified employment opportunities. We are witnessing a gradual shift in consumption trends from subsistence driven to aspiration led behavior. Demand for products like packaged tea, medicine, detergent, personal care and even consumer durables is on the rise. Key drivers such as government welfare scheme, financial inclusion, smartphone uses and changing gender roles are empowering rural households to make more informed purchasing decisions. Understanding this evolving landscape is crucial for business aiming to tap into the full potential of Bharat's economic engine. Now let's explore the core features of Indian rural market. The first significant features is its extensive and dispersed market base. Rural India encompasses approximately 65 to 70% of the country's total population residing in over 6.4 lakh villages. This translates to over 900 million consumers, making it a substantial consumption zones. However, this vast market is geographically scattered. Can you imagine the logistical challenges this poses? For example, a single district might contains hundreds of small villages separated by underdeveloped road, making last mile delivery and service positioning both complex and cost intensive. This dispersion associates unique distribution strategy unlike the concentrated urban market. Moving on, agriculture remains the primary source of income for a significant proportion of rural households. While agriculture share in India's GDP has declined to around 15 to 70%, it still employs over 45% of the workforce. What does this mean for consumer behavior? It implies that rural income is highly seasonal, heavily depend on monsoon, crop yield and commodity price. For example, demand for tractor, fertilizer and even fast moving consumer goods or FMCG products tend to spike post harvest when rural household experiences cash inflow. This seasonality is a critical factor for a marketers to consider. Next, we observe a low and variable standard of living for a large segment of rural population. This is primarily due to limited access to education, healthcare and consistent income source. Per capita income in rural area is estimated to be less than half of that in urban India. Consequently, rural consumers tend to be highly price sensitive and value conscious. Companies like Patanjali and Dabur have successfully adopted to this by offering affordable smaller size stock keeping units or SKUs such as 5 rupees sachet or 10 rupees pack. This strategy caters to the budget constraint and the need for immediate consumptions among rural households. Another crucial feature is the conservative and traditional mindset of rural consumer. They often uphold traditional belief customs and practices which deeply influence their consumption pattern. This traditional outlook fosters loyalty to local brand or long established ones even when alternatives are available. So what's the implication for marketing? Cultural sensitivity is a paramount when designing marketing campaign. Product promoted during major festival like Diwali, Holi or harvest season such as Baisakhi or Pongal often find better acceptance when explicitly aligned with local custom and rituals. This resonates deeply with the rural consumers' value. The socio-economic landscape in rural India is remarkably diverse. Factors such as caste, religion, literacy level, land ownership, and regional development disparity result in varied consumer behavior across state and even within districts. For example, a rural consumers in Kerala with its high literacy rate differs significantly from one in Bihar or Madhya Pradesh. Therefore, a one-size-fits-all approach simply does not work. Marketer must adopt region-specific strategies based on local insight as exemplified by the differentiated rural campaign of major players like Hindustan Unilever and ITC. Understanding this nuance is a key to effective penetration. Next, inadequate infrastructure and connectivity continued to be major bottleneck. While the government has made stride with a scheme like Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana and Digital India, challenges persist in terms of road connectivity, warehousing, cold chain facilities, consistent electricity, internet penetration, and banking access. A NABARD study, for example, highlighted that only 40% of rural households have access to formal credit. This infrastructural constraint increase the cost of physical distribution and delay the penetration of goods and services. Companies often partner with local influencers or employ innovative distribution models such as HUL's Project Shakti to bridge this crucial gap. This ingenuity is vital for overcoming distribution hurdles. However, there is a significant shift occurring, growing aspiration and exposure to media. With increasing penetration of television, mobile phones and internet connectivity, rural consumers are now more informed and aspirational. The spread of smartphone and affordable data thanks to providers like Jio has largely bridged the information gap. Rural youth in particular are actively engaging with social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, influencing their awareness and preferences. This digital exposure is gradually transforming consumption behavior from purely need-based to desire-based. For example, rural demand for branded clothing, personal grooming products and smartphone is rapidly increasing. This brings us to two closely related features: the emergence of rural youth as an influencer and evolving consumption pattern and brand preferences. India's demography advantages. The youth bulge is very evident in rural areas. A large proportion of the rural population is below 30 years of age, and this segment increasingly act as a key influencer in household purchase, especially in adopting new technology, digital payment and branded products. They often guide their elders in using apps like Umang or Bhim UPI. Consequently, rural consumers are increasingly shifting from unbranded to branded products, particularly in segments like packaged food, detergent and consumer durables. Companies offering affordability, durability and robust after-sales service are witnessing deeper rural penetration. Godrej Appliance and Hero Motocross, for example, have designed extensive service network specifically for rural customers. Finally, government schemes are driving rural demand. Public welfare programs such as Manrega, PM Kisan, Ujjwala Yojana and PM Awas Yojana have significantly improved rural purchasing power and living conditions. Direct benefit transfer or DBTs into Jan Dhan accounts have increased transparency and consumption readiness. This scheme have created a foundation shift in the rural economy, making it more conducive for marketers. For example, the distribution of LPG cylinder under Ujjwala Yojana has a naturally increased rural demand for LPG compatible stoves and kitchenware. So, to quickly recap the key features of the Indian rural market, it is a vast and dispersed market heavily reliant on agriculture with seasonal demand, characterized by a lower but evolving standard of living and a conservative yet aspirational consumer base. We also noted the challenges of inadequate infrastructure, the powerful influence of rural youth and digital penetration, the shift toward branded product and the significant role of government welfare scheme. This element collectively define the unique environment of rural India. Now let's shift our focus to the profile of rural consumer. First, in terms of size and scope, rural India represent a dominant portion of the national demography with nearly 65% of India's population living in rural areas, totaling over 900 million people. States like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh have a rural population exceeding 75 to 85% of their total. This vast yet geographically dispersed market present both immense opportunities and unique logistical challenges for marketers. Rural consumers are typically characterized by modest purchasing power, low per capita income and historically limited access to education. Social custom, religious belief and cultural practice play a strong role in their consumption decision. Despite this constraint, rural consumers often show loyalty to trusted brand and respond positively to value-driven offering. Consider Colgate success with Colgate Herbal offered in small SKUs priced as 12 rupees or 22 rupees. This demonstrates how even multinational brand localize and position their product to resonate with the rural mindset. The use of familiar character in ad campaigns like Billu in this case help communicates product benefit in a relatable and culturally relevant manner, especially for audience with lower literacy level. An important aspect of rural consumer profile is the scattered settlement pattern. While India's urban population is concentrated in about 8,000 towns and cities, its rural population is spread across 6.4 lakh villages. Crucially, over 60% of these villages have fewer than 1,000 inhabitants and many have a population of just a few hundreds. What challenges does this present for reaching every consumer? This decentralized demand requires companies to invest in specialized distribution strategy. For example, Colgate gained market leadership by ensuring deep penetration even in villages with fewer than 200 people. Their consistent packaging like the iconic red and white box enabled instant visual recall, which is a critical in market with low literacy. Let's talk about literacy and communication strategies. According to NFHS 5, rural literacy rate have a significantly improved, reaching around 70% compared to 84% in urban India. Importantly, the absolute number of literate in rural India now surpasses that in urban India due to sheer population size. This growing literacy base combined with local language proficiency demand region specific communication. For example, brands like Coco Care have effectively used flyer campaign in regional language such as Marathi in Maharashtra to engage rural consumer and build trust. This highlights the importance of localized, easy to understand communication in reaching this segment effectively. As we discussed earlier, agriculture continue to be the primary source of incomes, contributing nearly 60% of rural earning. Consequently, rural income and demand pattern are largely seasonal, peaking post-harvest, while government support scheme like PM Kisan have helped stabilize farm incomes, rural demand is still largely aligned with the agricultural calendar. For example, Hero Motocrop has strategically targeted its marketing of Hero Spender around crop cutting seasons, capitalizing on farmers, increased disposable income during those periods. This synchronized marketing approach is vital for maximizing sales in seasonal market. In recent decades, we have witnessed a positive shift in rural saving habits fueled by expansion of banking infrastructure, Jan Dhan Yojana and mobile-based payment system like UPI. Today, around 70% of rural households save a portion of their income, particularly among salaried, individual and self-employed non-farmers. What does this mean for their purchasing potential? This growing financial prudence enhances their long-term buying potential. For example, rural demand for consumer durables and two-wheeler has surged partially due to increased access to microfinancing, EMI scheme and the presence of rural banking agents. Financial inclusion is thus a powerful enabler of rural consumptions. Perhaps one of the most transformative changes is the influence of digital penetration and mobile technology. With affordable smartphones and low-cost data plan, rural India has become the second largest internet user base after urban India, with over 350 million rural users. How is this reshaping consumer behavior? This exposure is profoundly reshaping buying preferences, enabling access to e-commerce, digital banking and online education. Rural consumer increasingly search for product reviews on a YouTube before buying appliances or personal care items, indicating a growing digital literacy and a move toward more informed decision making. The smartphone is truly a game changer in rural India. We are also seeing the rise of women as an economic decision maker with the spread of self-help groups, rural employment scheme and microfinance initiative. Rural women are gaining significant financial independence. Programs like DAY NRLM have brought millions of women into economic activity. Women now significantly influence purchasing decisions related to household goods, healthcare, children education and even agricultural inputs. Brands like Surf Excel and Fair and Lovely have designed rural campaign specifically targeted women-centering household roles and aspirations. Simultaneously, there is a growing awareness of health, hygiene and wellness. The pandemic accelerated these trends. Demand for products such as sanitizer, masks, immunity booster and herbal remedies witnessed a marked increase. Brands like Patanjali, Dabur and Himalaya saw strong rural sales growth due to their Ayurvedic and herbal positioning, which resonated well with traditional yet health conscious consumers. Finally, rural consumers today are highly aspirational. They seek urban quality product, a better lifestyle and status symbol like branded clothing, two-wheeler and mobile phones. While consumptions may still be need-driven, brand consciousness and demand for premium variants are rising, especially among the youth. The rise in sales of brands like Samsung, Hero Motocrops and even Nestle in a rural market highlights this increasing aspiration for quality, technology and lifestyle enhancement. The rural consumer is no longer just a price-sensitive buyer but an aspiring one. To quickly recap the rural consumer profile, we discussed the vast yet dispersed population, their modest income but growing brand loyalty, improving literacy and the need for localized communication. We covered seasonal income pattern, increased financial inclusion and the significant impact of digital and mobile technology. We also highlighted the rise of women as a decision maker, growing health awareness and strong aspiration for a better lifestyle among rural consumers. This factor paint a comprehensive picture of the dynamic consumer segment. Alright, so far we have learned about the unique feature of the rural market and who the rural consumer is. We have seen there is a big group spread out with changing income and they are using more tech. Next we will look at what they are buying more of and why these changes are happening. Let's take a quick break here and we will be right back to explore these new trends.